All right, guys, so we're going to make pigment swatches today. The first thing you're going to need is your pigment swatch sheet, some Q-tips, or in my case, I'm be using some lip wands, and you'll also need just a little bit of clean water. Before we start swatching anything, we're going to write down the name of the brand on the top corner of the page. And in my case, I'm going to be swatching my new Ever After pigments. And then right after, we're going to write down the name of the pigments on the top line on the bottom. Now you'll be doing this for each and every pigment that you are looking to swatch because of course you want to know the name of the pigments that you'll be swatching, right? This is so when you look back at your swatches and you're looking at the mass tone, the mid-tone, or the undertones, this is going to help you choose a color that works best for your client's undertones and to get the healed results that you are looking for. And in order to do that, you need to know the name of the pigment. So if you make any swatches and you don't write the name of the pigment down, how are you going to know which pigment that you used? So the first thing we're going to do before we start doing our swatches is go ahead and mix up our bottles, just giving it a good shake for about 30 seconds to about a minute. And that'll just mix up all the separated ingredients within your bottle because once it's sitting there for a little while, it does tend to separate and the heavier particles will be on the bottom of the bottle. So you want to mix it up very good before making up your swatches. Okay, now let's start making a concentrated mess. I'm just kidding. So we're going to start off by just placing a drop on the left-hand side. And then we'll grab our water and Q-tip, dip the Q-tip in for about 3 seconds, place it into the drop, then drag it right to left all the way down until it stops. It's that simple. You'll just repeat the same process over and over again for all of your pigments. Just make sure that you are not touching the wet pigment that you just swatched. You want to let it completely dry before you touch it. Move it, hang it, store it, display it, whatever you're going to do with your pigment swatches afterwards. You could put them in a frame and hang them up. It does make a nice display. I like to keep mine in a 3-ring binder with the plastic sleeve protectors. That way I can just pull them up whenever I'd like and see all the different colors that I have. Eventually, you can develop and make your own little collection of which ones you like to use. Some people like to stick with the same brand. Some people like to explore. So if you do this, you'll just have a binder full like I do. All right, we made it to the final step. Now we're going to locate and identify the CI numbers that are right on your pigment bottle and write them down on the corresponding lines underneath the swatches. This is important because we need to know what colors make up our pigments. So the pigment swatches actually help us find the mass tone, the mid-tone, and the undertones. The CI numbers help us identify what's actually inside the pigments. So take that color Dark Magic, for example. It's a very neutral color. However, if we wanted to use this color on a Fitzpatrick 5, for example, you do need to warm it up quite a bit because it doesn't have too much orange or red in it. Therefore, you would need to modify and add that pigment inside of it in order for you to have a nice healed result instead of a very ashy brow color. Now, what I like to do in addition to adding the CI numbers, I actually like to write down the corresponding color to that CI number so that way I can quickly see the color at a glance instead of having to stare at the CI number and try to remember exactly what those codes are. You can easily find what color is associated with that color identification number right online. You could just pop it into Google and then it'll spit out the name of the color. There are some manufacturers that have this information already in their product description, which is great and it's such a time saver. So Ever After Pigments does have this information online on their website. So I'm literally just copying down the CI numbers that's associated with the pigment swatch that I'm doing and writing down the color. Now again, if your manufacturer does not do this or your brand does not do this, that's totally fine. You can just, like I said, write down the CI number and then you can just pop it into Google and find the color.
This is how easy it is. You just pop into Google and type in CI number and then enter in the numbers that you are looking for. In this case, I am going to do 77266 and hit search. And there you have it, carbon black. Now I can just show you another one here. And it's super simple. Again, just CI number, the number, and then Google will just spit it out. Super easy.